Welcome, our fellow lovers of love, and thank you for joining us on yet another excursion through the stream of consciousness, down the river of tranquility, to fill the lake of life with love.
And good evening, our fellow lovers of love. How are you doing this evening? We are here tonight, which is a kind of an interesting thing for us to be talking about, but we'll have Lovey will tell us what she was thinking. Is Constitution Day is coming up, and so we're talking the Constitution. So I guess what is love of country?
Yes.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, okay, so that's what's on the agenda for tonight. We're talking about the Constitution and why it's an important thing, and that's where we're going tonight.
Some interesting facts. Well, Constitution Day was first established February 29th in 1952. And Congress designated September 17th as Constitution Day and Citizenship Day. It commemorates the signing of the U.S. Constitution on September 17th, 1787, and recognizes all American citizens. So that's what Constitution Day is about.
Yeah, well, this is some interesting stuff. We put this on some tidbits I pulled out of this thing. The Constitution is the oldest and shortest written constitution of any major government in the world.
Really?
Yeah. It has 4,543 words, including the signatures. That's including the signatures. It'd take an average person about 30 minutes to read the whole thing. It was signed by 39 delegates from 12 states on September 17th, 1787. 3 delegates refused to sign it because they thought it gave too much power to the federal government. So there was that. There was always those who think that even the Constitution is too strong in terms of the government. There's my original tribe right there. No, it's too much government. That's a different show. But that is a different show. It did not include a Bill of Rights until 1791, when the 10 Amendments were added to protect the rights of people and states, which is actually to define the role of government and the state. So it actually wasn't protect rights. But that's another show. Again, Constitution has been amended 27 times, but only 26 amendments are in effect because the 18th Amendment qualified. The 18th Amendment prohibited alcohol and was repealed by the 21st Amendment.
Yeah.
The 18th Amendment there, but it's nullified by the 21st. And so that's kind of the handful of tidbits that I a little bit of trivia for you.
Thank you.
For those of you. All right, so where are we going from this?
Well, we're going to talk about some things about the U.S. Constitution, and then I have some 21 fun facts you may not know.
Okay.
The U.S. Constitution was written in the same Pennsylvania State House where the Declaration of Independence was signed and where George Washington received his commission as commander of the Continental Army. And written in 1787, the Constitution was signed on September 17th, but it wasn't until 1788 that it was ratified by the necessary 9 states. The U.S. Constitution was prepared in secret behind locked doors that were guarded by sentries. Some of the original framers and many delegates in the state ratifying conventions were very troubled that the original Constitution lacked a description of individual rights. In 1791, Americans added the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. The first 10 amendments became known as the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, those are the first 10. You know how we love 10.
We like 10.
We like 10. So that's kind of how that happened. All right.
Established in November 26, 1789, the first National Thanksgiving Day was originally created by George Washington as a way of giving thanks for the Constitution. So that was the first Thanksgiving Day. Well, the second,
Well,
if you want to.
well, the first Thanksgiving Day, it's kind of reverse engineered, gone back. It didn't call it like Thanksgiving Day then. So,
Yeah, they did.
no, the Pilgrims and
The Pilgrims didn't know.
They didn't call it Thanksgiving. Just a get together. Call it, we kind of, what is it, reverse engineered? We went back in history. We retconned it. We retconned history a little bit on that one. Not necessarily for a bad way, but they didn't have like a name for it. Or really Thanksgiving. You were just getting together with your neighbors and having a breaking bread. It's not making it less important. I'm just saying it's not the same thing. They formalized Thanksgiving
That's true.
with an actual meaning. Now when you do it again, it becomes historical, right? When it happens every year, it's a different thing. Okay, so what's next? We've got some. What do we got?
At 81, Benjamin Franklin was the oldest delegate.
Mhm.
And at 26, Jonathan Dayton of New Jersey was the youngest.
Okay. Cool.
The original Constitution is on display at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, it was moved to Fort Knox for safekeeping.
Yeah, how much you want to bet it never actually came out of Fort Knox? I somehow doubt that the real Constitution is actually on public display. Might be a great forgery, but I somehow doubt it's there. And it's fine. I'm not going to complain. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying I doubt it. I wouldn't put it out. I get the best forger in the world to go make me a couple copies of this Williams and put those on display. Why would you put the real thing out there?
I don't know.
It makes no sense. The thing never left Fort Knox, and it's not some conspiracy theory. It's just it's smart. It's just smart. There's too much to go wrong having it out on public display. Not even intentionally go wrong. Just accidents happen.
Well, I know it was under glass. I watched a special about it a long time ago, but
Yeah, under glass, hermetically sealed, with some special gas inside instead of oxygen.
yeah.
Yeah, there's too much to go wrong. I'm saying one thing goes wrong and all that is ruined. So why would you put it stored away somewhere? Just do. Anyway, that's a whole other issue.
Because it belongs to the people.
Yeah, and we want to keep it safe for the people. It's fine. It's fine for a display copy. Since it tells the story just fine. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying if they're not doing it, they're not doing it. If it is actually the copy, they're derelict of their duty. If it's the real copy, it's a dereliction of duty to keep it safe. That's all I'm saying. There's no point in having the real thing out. It serves no purpose. Just doesn't. Anyway. Now, of course,
Well, to end this one article, this
Right.
is the last piece of information on this one. More than 11,000 amendments have been introduced in Congress. 33 have gone to the states to be ratified, and 27 received the necessary approval.
So it's deliberately difficult. Let's be clear. Unlike other constitutions and other forms of government, to make it easy, make these wild swings. One of the reasons we're now that's the oldest document is that it's difficult to change. It has some built-in flexibility, but it's difficult to change. Which means you don't get these radical swings in power. All right. So what do we got next? What's some of these?
Well, we got some fun facts. Yeah, some things you may not know.
Yeah. Some of these are cool. They're kind of, when you think about it, we all kind of used to air conditioning and being comfortable in summer. When you think about the summers in the south, in Pennsylvania, how hot and muggy they are without air conditioning, and they were in these things with locked doors and windows. No fans to even move the hot air around. Just locked doors.
How could they breathe?
Yeah. And they were thick woolen garments day after day. That, and it's not like they had showers they could go take every night. So let's just say there was a lot of perfume used, I guess. Just saying. But yeah, don't complain about your work environment, right? Everything's pretty nice about these days. My office is a little cold at work, but welcome to stop complaining about that. Bring a sweater. Okay.
Okay, number 2. The intent was not to create a new constitution. They didn't come to Philadelphia intending to write a new constitution. They came to tweak the Articles of Confederation, the original constitution written in 1777.
Yeah, but they realized it was an unworkable mess, so they started over. There was no tweaks they could do to fix it, so it was just easier. Which is breaking their mandate, which is somehow quite American. it's in both ways. It's sadly, and it's kind of both a good and bad thing, right? You break their mandates all the time. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Okay.
Some framers wanted to limit the size of the army.
Yeah, because, they just recently, 20 years, had gotten over fighting for freedom. So, yeah, they were worried about the government imposing, using troops to impose some version of law and order that, the people of the area don't want.
Okay, and George Washington apparently sarcastically agreed with the proposal as long as the stipulation was added that no invading army could number more than 3,000 troops.
Yeah, okay, as long as all of our potential enemies agree. Have big armies. Yeah. My guess is that kind of carried the day. What do you think? All right. Benjamin Franklin had to be carried from the convention.
Oh no.
He was in awful pain. He had gout, barely stand. And so he arrived at Independence Hall. He was carried in by 4 prisoners from the Walnut Street jail. Ferried him around the city in a sedan chair. 81. Still happens. Guess some stuff hasn't changed. Still weekending and burnings of politicians. Been doing it since the beginning. So.
Weekending bird.
Well, you carried him around the city You can't move around, so you're carrying this guy around the cities. And well, without getting political, look at our political leaders. They're not exactly all there. All right. America's farmers were woefully misrepresented. Of the 55 delegates who attended the Constitutional Convention, 34 were lawyers. Nearly all of them had held previous office and did not reflect the American electorate, which was a country of farmers at the time. 22 out of the 55, only 22 of the 55 derived their income out of farming. Only one delegate, William Few, in any way representing the farmers' interest, have been born into a yeoman farming family. But even Few was a lawyer and politician at that time. And George Washington was a farmer. And
A lot of them got their money from farming.
yeah, but they had become, most of them had become lawyers. But remember, George Washington wasn't officially a delegate. He was just, anyway, overseeing the whole thing. Pointing his finger when everybody would get out of hand. Yeah, everybody listened to old George. So. He only was there because he knew he had to be there to give it legitimacy. He wasn't the farmers of the world.
Yeah.
That's why he was literally there. Okay. Electoral college?
May have been just as controversial then as it is now.
Well, of course it is, because you're trying to balance the needs of everybody who wants their own needs to be more important than everybody else's.
It took 60 separate ballots for the delegates to finally accept the electoral college.
Yeah, it's a difficult balancing act. It's trying to balance power and trying to protect and think about not just balancing power now, but balancing power through history. It's a difficult balancing act. And I actually think all that difficulty getting it passed actually is why it actually worked. He actually went through and revised it and changed it and tweaked it and tweaked it and tweaked it until something that was actually functional. In a sense, you could argue the process worked. It balanced the needs of those most populated areas versus the protecting least populated areas from the political power. That's what its whole design was for. At the time, it was designed to protect the cities from the political power of the countryside, but now it actually does the reverse. It protects the countryside from the political power of the city. And everybody who wants to change is the one who's sitting on whose side, who wants to exercise their political power. So it's always been designed to check that power. So, okay.
Writing it costs $30.
Okay. Now that's $30 our money, or about $900 today. So it's about $900 to get someone to actually write it.
Jacob Shallis, the Pennsylvania General Assembly assistant clerk, who actually held the pen.
Yeah. So
Shallis was paid about $30, about $900 today, for lending his penmanship.
Yeah, and it's riddled with odd spellings because, well, there was no. I keep trying to understand. There is no such thing as rules of language. It's just what's commonly used in the area of which you live. So when someone writes a word, you'd be write it the way it's written and used in their area. So that's why it's got, odd spellings, because words are spelled differently. So some use British spellings, others used American spellings, and even though it was the same person, but anyway, that's just how it works.
So the English spellings had not been standardized.
Yeah, they're still not standardized. Wow. The language is evolving all the time. Remember, the big one when we were kids were eight, right? Eight wasn't a word until it was. And now we have thousands of those, happens all the time. Words evolve. I always like to think the laws of English and the laws of language aren't really laws; they're more of expressions of common usage.
Ah, yeah, that's probably more accurate.
Yeah. Okay.
Not every founding father signed it.
Yeah. Well, because Thomas Jefferson wasn't even there because he was in France. John Adams was in Great Britain. Other of the founding fathers, George Mason, Jerry, were present but refused to touch it, and others didn't attend. And when Patrick Henry was asked why he declined to attend the convention, he allegedly said he smelled a rat. So he was given the thought was it was going to give the federal government too much power, which is a valid viewpoint. Okay. Rhode Island hated the Constitution so much it almost started a civil war over it. So there's that.
11 of the 13 states ratified the Constitution in the months after the signing, and North Carolina finally signed in November 1789. That left Rhode Island, who never sent a delegate to the Constitutional Convention, the last holdout.
Uh-huh.
It was the contention was so intense that when a group of Rhode Island Federalists began planning an ox roast to celebrate the document in 1788, an army of 1,000 angry armed men assembled to stop it. The event nearly sparked a civil war.
Well, here's the interesting one. The First Amendment was originally the third, but the first two amendments immediately ratified or ratified at all. The First Amendment actually set up a detailed formula, excuse me, for the number of House members based upon each decennial census. Scholars have calculated that had the amendment, which is still pending, by the way, been adopted, today's House would have either 800 or 5,000 representatives, depending upon how they calculate these things. And it currently has 435. Can you imagine a House of Representatives with 5,000? I mean, even 800 is not ready. The amendment was not ratified for another 203 years. The Second Amendment was regulated congressional compensation, and that was ratified for became the 27th. So the first two amendments was about representation and pay for Congress, and then it was free speech, whatnot. So it's actually a good thing those things didn't pass. Vastly different. Free speech being the First Amendment is actually a much more powerful message than the First Amendment being how we divvy up power amongst
Yeah.
the legislature. So anyway, sometimes these things work out the way they should, right? First National.
Thanksgiving was established largely to thank God for the new Constitution. We talked about that.
For decades, it was unclear if the vice president was supposed to succeed the president. Of course, no, it wasn't.
According to Article 2, Section 1, in case of removal of the president from office or his death, resignation, or his inability to discharge the powers and duties of said office, the same shall devolve on the vice president. It says clearly if he dies.
Yeah. If he dies or is removed from office or dies, the duties and resuming the duties assuming the duties in now they bring up the military, but anywhere else, if you assume the duties of the CEO, guess what, sunshine? You're now the CEO. You may be acting CEO until the next election, but you're still the CEO. Yeah. You know, you get the CEO pay and everything else because you're doing that job. That's how that works. Now, just because in the military, they said in the military, you don't assume the next rank, even though you assume the, you know, like if you're
the responsibilities. Yes.
but they actually do. You would eventually get field promoted to the next, assuming you're half decent at your job, get field promoted. That's how that works, especially in wartime, which is really the only time that happens. So, at least on a routine basis, and it's just more convenient to give you the promotion. It's to find some job. Okay. So what's next? The 25th Amendment has been invoked 3 times, all for colon treatments. So the 25th Amendment allows, you know, temporarily. So like if the president's going to be, you know, under anesthesia for a few hours when he's undergoing surgery, the vice president has the legal right to control the health, you know, to make presidential type decisions until the new president is ready. And so it's like a temporary handing over of power, which makes sense in the modern world. Okay. Constitution prohibits states from changing the structure of their governments. So you've got talking about the 13th Amendment has 2 things, which yes, we know. You don't always know how your congressional person votes. So those aren't very interesting. Thanks to the Constitution, you can become a state-sanctioned pirate. Hey, there you go. You ever want to become piracy? Woohoo!
Sign me up.
All great stories involve pirates. So Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution gives the government the authority to define and punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas. It also allows the government to grant letters of marque, that is to grant people permission to become privateers, which is essentially a legal pirate. Well, legal for your country, but not for the other. Don't get caught by the people whose boat owners robbing.
Well, yeah. Well, we can steal from our enemies.
Yeah, you can still.
Yeah, but that's it.
They just don't get caught because your enemies are.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna treat you like a pirate.
Yeah, they will.
Okay. Much of the Bill of Rights didn't apply to the states until the mid-20th century. Because it says right there, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment, right? So all these amendments in the Constitution applies to the federal government. And the question was, how much of those restrictions apply to state governments? State governments having more freedom to define them with cultures, communities, things. I think the decision is that some of the base, you know, if freedom of speech, you know, jury trials, those kind of things, those are fundamental human rights, not just rights granted to you by the state. The Declaration of Human Rights. Okay. Constitution supposedly contains a loophole that could allow dictatorship to flourish. That'll define dictatorships. Yeah, well, it's technically it's because the Constitution can be amended to amend itself, and therefore it can be amended to allow for dictatorship, which technically could. But as we have seen, it's not easy to change the Constitution. So while it's technically, you know, available, the chances of, as we talk about next, of getting the Constitution changed are essentially it's like less than 5,000 have been attempted. Over the 2 centuries, more than 11,600 amendments to the Constitution have been proposed. Of those, only 33 have been sent to the states for ratification, and of those, only 27 have been approved. Rounded down, the percentage chance of getting an amendment passed is, in fact, It's less than 1%. It's not only less than 1%, it's less than half of it. Because you have to round it down. If it was 0.6%, you round it up. So it really rounds down to 0. So yeah, just do the math. 11,633. Now we've gotten a shot. So it's very, very hard, as it should be, quite frankly. All right, we got 9:30. What do you want to do? You want to go on to the next one? We've got something else, or are we all good?
No, we're good.
Good.
And there is a copy of the Constitution on our website, should anyone care to peruse it.
Forgot all those banners. And there's latenightLove.us, and you can send us picture givings. We're going to move on to our letters, but you can find all of our stuff, all of our links and references are at latenightLove.us, and you can send us your questions, comments, suggestions, blah, 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 at latenightLove. Love at the time. I'm just butchering everything tonight. All these things. If you somehow would like to subscribe, and share, you can do all that, and you can send us letters at love@latenightLove.us. There you go, got it out there. Finally.
Yes, you did.
I had to surprise myself into doing that. What the heck was that? All right, so we're on to our questions. Ooh, I didn't put the things in highlights. Okay, so we got relationship questions tonight. You got crazy on the sex thing.
I did not.
Yeah, we got the family.
Oh.
Thing. But anyway, okay, we have to rephrase some of these things. My lady. Okay, so we got.
I forget.
What do we got to start with?
Okay, we got relationships. I, 35 female, always wanted a tattoo dedicated to my kid. Now I know what I want. My husband says he hates all tattoos. What do I do?
What do you do? Your husband hates tattoos. Yeah. I suppose it depends. Have one that, it's just not gonna. Just because he doesn't like them doesn't mean he accept it. Right? So, depends where you put it. How. I don't know what you do. To be honest. You're 35. You're gonna have to make those decisions on your own. Nobody else actually can give you advice. You're just gonna have to make a choice. And it may depend how much. Hate is a strong word. He doesn't like tattoos, but you don't put a bumper sticker on a Ferrari. That's kind of his view on these things. It's a valid viewpoint, but it's your body. You have the right to do whatever you want with it. So how bad do you want it versus, the type of, discord type of disruption is going to cause in your relationship for how long. You're going to have to balance all that out and make a decision. No one else can tell you what to do on that. All you can do is contemplate it, have a discussion with your husband, or maybe a few, and then move on. One way or the other. What happens will happen. But it's a new thing. You guys talked about it before. I don't know. That's a strange thing. So I don't have a good answer on that one.
Okay.
Why?
Well, I would invite him to go with.
What's that gonna do? That's not gonna do anything. He's
You
not gonna
don't
want to
think
go.
so?
No, he's not going to want to go. Why is he going to want to go? He doesn't even want it happening. Why is he going to want to go?
Well, maybe it would help him accept it.
No, you're just shoving it in his face. He doesn't want it. Now you want him to go. He barely wants to accept it to begin with. And now you want him to actually. Why would you want to do that? Why do you want to do that to him? I don't want to do this thing. Well, good. So come with me instead. It doesn't make any sense. That's like being deliberately antagonistic. You do that.
I thought it was a good
Okay,
idea.
I'm gonna shove it in your face.
And I said it, and
Yeah.
I thought about it.
Yeah. And if you're gonna talk quietly, get closer to your microphone. Okay, what's next?
Okay, my 52 male as a stay-at-home wife, 36 female is burned out. How can I help her?
Well, help her as best you can. But we all go through these burnt out periods, right? You get burnt out at work sometimes. You just kind of have to trudge through for a few weeks or a month. And the same thing happens to a stay-at-home person. They get burnt out, and what they need is the freedom to be burnt out for a couple weeks. Just and having the freedom to be burnt out for a few weeks actually is a preventative measure of actually getting burnt out, because it being okay. I just don't want to do all my daily chores today or tomorrow for a couple days. Okay, don't. There's dishes to do the dishes for a day or two or something, or just let them sit for a couple days. It ain't gonna kill them. If you're busy, if you're working overtime and you get tired, neither one of you feel like doing them, well, get some paper plates and use paper plates for a week. It just ease up on the load. That's what you do when the same thing you always do. Ease up on the load, ease up on the stress, simplify your life. There's no magic bullet on that. So whether you're a stay-at-home parent, stay-at-home spouse without children, if you're feeling burnt out, you simplify and find something fun for yourself. Not worrying about what other people think. If it's knitting, it's knitting. It's whatever. Playing video games, whatever it is. Find something fun, and you'll get back to the grind soon enough. Just burnt out. Don't make it bigger than it. Just treat it. Okay. Simplify. There's my suggestion.
Okay.
And give her help when you can. That's the other one. Okay.
My boyfriend, 30 male of 8 years, would rather lose me, 28 female, than marry me. Please advise.
Well, he just sent you a message that he doesn't find you wife material. If you want a husband, then you're going to have to find somebody else. It's actually fairly clear. You just don't want to accept it. He actually told you exactly how he felt. Nice to hang out with, but you're not marriage material. He told you. Or he doesn't want to get married. Now, maybe you have to define what marriage is. Maybe his definition of marriage is slightly different. Maybe he's thinking marriage is the whole ceremony, signing the paper with the government and all that kind of stuff. When really, modern marriage is a little different. A lot of people are married without the ceremony and paperwork, but they live married. Their lives are essentially married. So find out what that is. But my guess is you guys just aren't meant to be. So don't waste any more time. Focus on yourself, and the person who will be your future husband will come into your life. That's what you're looking for. But he told you he's not looking for you right now. He's not looking for marriage. He was honest with you. What do you want? Sad. It's on, but at least it's honest. But
Well, maybe you could talk to him about, like you said, defining what he's thinking marriage is, and maybe you might have to, the young lady might have to bend a little bit.
yeah, maybe it's because you're making you want a big, huge wedding, and that's really what he's. I don't want to deal with her version of a wedding, so he's trying to avoid that, but just not to get married. But also, there's many people for many men about that age, they have realized that the legal marriage doesn't benefit them in any way, so they're just not going to do it. For them legally, it only comes with problems, so they're not going to do it. And so, if that's what it is, then maybe she has to redefine her version of marriage. Do everything but sign the legal paperwork, and everything's fine. But my guess is they would have figured that one all out. They would have talked about it because they've been talking about it, and he just doesn't want to get married. And whether he just doesn't want to get married to her or get married in general, she has to make the decision whether it's how much of her life she wants to spend on it.
Yeah.
It's been boyfriend of 8 years. That's 20 to 28. If she wants to raise a family, her clock is ticking. That's why she's coming to Reddit and asking for advice. It's time to move on. It's hard after 8 years. It's insanely difficult. Especially since she thought this was husband material, and now saying no, I'm not. But he's telling you. When people tell you these things,
Believe him.
My suggestion is believe them. Okay. I mean, on occasion they're doing it just to try to push you away. But after 8 years, I somehow doubt it. Okay.
Girlfriend, 28 female, admitted she doesn't like my 30 male, son, 5 male, being around. Red flag? Yes, it's a huge red flag.
Well, yes, it can be, but it also could be she's just uncomfortable with feeling with a past relationship, and she might very well get over it. It really depends. Maybe the suggestion here is to help her work through it. There is something to work through. So if you want to view that as, I'd say more of a yellow flag. It's a cautionary flag, not a stop flag. It's proceed with caution, not necessarily stop. Because sometimes it's just people don't know how to deal with their emotions these days. And she's under 30. A lot of them don't know how to deal with their emotions, and she may just be transferring the instinctive emotions of, that's from a different relationship. She's holding that on a child, but she doesn't know how to deal with it properly. How to deal with it. And you'll have a stronger relationship in the long run. It doesn't have to be. She's actually open to telling you. So my guess is, how is she telling you? Is she distressed about it? Or is she, making demands that she not spend time? Maybe she's just asking for help to work through these feelings. I don't have enough information to know which one it is. So, but she could actually be asking for help working through these feelings, because she knows they're not rational. But feelings aren't always rational, don't we know?
Don't we know? Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. Okay, so what's next?
Okay, we're going to move on to parenting.
That's moving fast enough. Okay.
Can someone please help me convince my wife that chores are age appropriate for kids 8 and 10?
Now, I find the way this is phrased. Can someone help me convince my wife that chores are age appropriate for my kids 8 and 10? My kids or our kids?
My kids.
So are they kids from a previous marriage? Or are they their children together?
No, they're children together.
So then they're their kids.
Yeah.
Well, this is one of those parenting things you're just going to have to work out. Age appropriate chores are, it's a family cultural thing. So some families didn't believe in giving kids chores for a reason. Or, they'll do what I ask when I ask them, but I'm not going to give them standardized chores, right? We didn't want to do that to their children. Just expect when we ask you to help, you help. And, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that they're trying to teach different things, it's that they have different ways of teaching that responsibility. And so maybe you actually have to sit down and have a discussion about what you're actually trying to teach with the chores and how to go about it. Are you just trying to get the trash taken out, and you have kids, so you get them to do it, or you're actually trying to teach them some form of responsibility? Is that necessarily the best way to do it? So that's probably the discussion to have. Is okay, what are the actual goals of the chores? And once you find out what the goals are, then it's easier to negotiate.
Yeah.
Yeah, because for all we know, someone could have some trauma attached to doing chores, and you're actually not dealing with you know, dealing with some emotion reaction rather than a logical. So discuss the motive of the chores, what you're actually trying to accomplish.
Maybe she had a childhood filled with chores,
Yeah.
and
Maybe she was Cinderella, right?
yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? And so you're sitting there scrubbing floors while your stepsisters are trying on clothes. Who knows? So deal with that. So my suggestion is deal with what you're trying to accomplish with the chores. What's the goal? And once you can agree on the goal of the chores, then it becomes much easier on how to structure the chore. Right? Maybe it's just you just need to have a looser structure of what you expect from them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just a tight structure she's opposed to, instead of not necessarily opposed to teaching them responsibility. She just doesn't want the tight structure. So anyway, have the discussion about what the goal is, as I just repeated myself like 8,000 times. Okay. Sorry, my apologies. Okay, so what's next?
My wife has no hobbies and I do, but she makes me feel I'm not present. What do I do?
Well, are you sure your wife has no hobbies? Is the question. Maybe you don't view them as hobbies, but if she treats them as a hobby, then it's a hobby. So, I mean, I find it difficult to believe that she has nothing she's interested in. She doesn't fill her time with anything. She's filling her time with something. But she makes me feel like I'm not present. What, when you're off doing your hobbies, maybe she wants to spend some time with you. Movie night might be a hobby, I suppose. Not all of us like movies. Trust me, I don't. But somebody's tolerant of me. We find the things we do like, and we watch those.
We find ones that are a compromise.
Yeah, and I'm just not in the mood for movies very often. So I'm much when I want to sit down and relax, turn off the little brain, sketch comedy, right? So we find sketch comedy that we like.
Yeah.
So, and if I don't want to shut my brain off, I'm not watching a Hollywood movie. Because that's brain candy, which is fine. I've got no problems with people who want to have brain. I'm not complaining about it. It's just what it is. Everything's got its place. Otherwise, it wouldn't be popular.
Yeah.
Okay. You're asleep over there. We're way past your bedtime. So what's next?
I'm trying. I'm participating.
Yes, I know. When you're falling asleep. Okay, so what's next?
How do I avoid letting my daughter play in our neighbor's house?
You just okay. What's the reason you're uncomfortable? Is there more to the story, or is she just
No, that's just what she said. She doesn't like her daughter over there.
okay? But why? It's the question. Your daughter's, socializing. It's actually good for them to learn to socialize. Maybe the thing is to go over and get more comfortable with the parents of the child. I mean, she's clearly playing with parents, right? For the child.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get more comfortable with parents. Is it your anxiety, or is it there's something real? Now, if there's some real sense of an instinctive sense of danger, that's fine. But if you're just trying to control it because she's out of sight and you're just afraid, that's something you're gonna have to. Helicoptering your child is actually more dangerous than letting your child go off and experience the world in a relatively safe place, which is right next door. But give your child one of those watch phone thingies, and so you can check in all the time. In the modern world, it's very easy to do these things even more safely than right.
Yes, I just hadn't thought of that phone watch thing.
Yeah, I mean it's close enough. They're still probably get attached to your Wi-Fi, so you wouldn't even need at next door, right? You could probably still get your own home Wi-Fi on it. You wouldn't even need a cell phone thing. You just get a cheap watch, a Wi-Fi watch thing. Anyway, so there's ways to do it, but I don't want to downplay if there's some sense that she has a sense of danger, that there's some actual danger. Maybe there's a teenage son or something that's kind of creepy and causes problems in the neighborhood. You just don't want to, the daughter's perfectly fine, the parents are fine, but they got a wayward son, kind of thing happens, right? there's neighborhood children and neighborhood families I wouldn't want my children growing up associated with. Live close, don't want them playing over there. I understand the thing, but there's legitimate reasons for it. It's not just I don't want my child to play next door. So without knowing details, I don't know. Proceed with caution, but don't overprotect your child. It's actually more dangerous than the world is. Okay.
I really feel guilty with how often my toddler has been going over to her grandma's.
All right.
Why?
Well, maybe she feels like she's imposing on grandma. So the question is to have an open conversation with grandma. Right now, the other question is, are you feeling guilty because you're not spending time with your daughter? But the thing is, grandmas are only here for a little while. Grandmas are gonna go, so allow them to have that relationship. I would keep the open mind, keep the open conversation with grandma to make sure grandma's okay with all this, right? You could overburden grandmas. Grandmas could be overburdened easily without even attempting it because they're gonna say yes because they want to, but even when they shouldn't, even when they could use some time downtime. So have the open conversations, make sure you're not accidentally abusing grandma. But other than that, grandma spending time with their grandchildren is rarely an abuse of either one. So I wouldn't worry too much about it, but keep your mind open.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're actually doing the right thing. You're keeping your mind open to it. Okay, so what's next?
In your opinion, I got work questions.
Okay.
In your opinion, what is the most overworked but underpaid job?
Well, part of this thing is I don't believe there's many jobs that are technically underpaid. There's jobs that we instinctively think are very difficult, so we think they should be paid more. But the reality is, they're not difficult. They're just hard. Like the hardest job I've ever had was washing dishes in a restaurant, in a fast restaurant. Hardest job I've ever had. It's wet, it's hot. It's just this never-ending flow of washing dishes. And it's literally the hard. And I've worked in assembly lines and warehouses and all kinds of stuff, and it's still the hardest job, the physical hardest job. And you're exhausted at the end of the day. But at the same time, there's jobs that just burdened with stress, right? And very technical. And it's easy to forget things. And you're actually being paid to be accurate rather than being paid to do as much as you can, as fast as you can. So I think some of the jobs, the most difficult jobs that we don't think about are the jobs we don't think about. The people who are out picking, literally, picking our fruit, people who are washing our dishes. Those are the most difficult jobs. People who are digging the ditches so we can build, so you can fix the plumbing.
Yeah.
Like the poor people who had to sit here and dig the ditch all the way through our house so they could fix our plumbing, right? We can still see it on the floor. Or they had to dig a trench, a 6-foot trench, all the way through the house so they could replace the pipe. That's hard work right there. Now, the reason it doesn't get paid a lot is because lots of people can do it. And so, the more specific your skills are, the higher pay you get, generally speaking. If lots of people can do your job, it doesn't get paid very much. If only a handful of people can do your job, you get paid a lot. If it's, basic supply and demand.
Yep.
So it's, do we instinctively think people who dig trenches should be paid more than people who build websites? Probably. But building websites is harder, and if small people can do it, so you get paid a little more. Not a lot more anymore. Quite frankly, you can probably make more money digging the ditch for the plumber than you can building a website these days, because there's fewer people willing to do it. So there's the other part of the conversation. People willing to do the job also have an impact on how much the job pays. So overworked, I don't know. Lots of jobs are overworked, and it's picking out one is a detriment to all the others. Where lots of things are overworked, and underpaid. That's an impossible question. Okay.
Okay, how to recover from job loss?
The hardest thing to recover from the job loss is actually the hit to your ego, right? The world you knew is now gone, and even if you had nothing to do with it, you feel less than, kind of lost part of yourself. So the best advice I have to recover from job loss is to do your best to get back on your feet somehow, even if it's as an independent contractor. Keep yourself busy, keep yourself, maintain your productivity on, even if it's a hobby project, right? While you're looking for another job, you're self occupied with something that moves you forward.
Yeah.
Yeah. Focus on some education, even if it's just watching, university lectures on YouTube. Continue to educate yourself. Just keep moving forward. That's my suggestion. Don't become stagnant. All right. What's next?
What would you do about a client who won't / hasn't paid for an independently contracted work?
Well, usually there's two things. You can send it to collections or small claims court, depending upon the out contract. So there's your two options really. Small claims court or collections. If you've got a verifiable debt, I send it to collections. Yeah, that's what the legal system's for. Civil legal system's for. Saudi. And you have to decide: is it worth, how much time is it going to take to get the money back, and is it worth it? Because there's a cost of chasing that money. You have to make that choice. Depends how much it is. If the guy owes you $100, it's going to cost you $200 to get it, and 6 months. It may not be worth the time. Okay, you can collect the cost so you can get it. So for the $100, you're going to have to pay you that back, but you can't pay you back the time. And the hassle. So sometimes it's a small bill. Sometimes it's just better off for your mental health. Right. Send it to collections or whatever. Report it to the credit agencies, whatever you want to do. But so it really depends on the exact circumstance. Okay, so what's next?
Okay, patronizing coworker. What do I do?
Don't feed the trolls. Ignore them. That's nice, Bob. And just move on. Anything else, it's just wasting your time. It says more about him than you. It's insecurity. Her insecurity. It's their insecurity, not yours. The best thing to do as trolls is to not move on. If it's unbearable, you deal with HR or whatnot. But that's kind of it. All right, so we got a few minutes. Oh, good. We won't get to the last question. Sweet. Okay, so what's this next?
Should HR know I slept with a coworker?
Probably not, unless there's a reason for it. I don't think it's their business. No. Just on the face of it, unless you were doing it in
Unless
the
you're
boss's office or something, and then you probably definitely shouldn't tell them.
unless you're a supervisor, then you have to.
And I don't know. You probably should, but I don't think your employer has any business knowing your personal life. So unless you're dealing with maybe financial institution or something. For most of us, if you're working at McDonald's or just some middle, manager and some, I don't think it matters. Personally, I wouldn't, because I don't think it's none of their damn business. But I suppose if you're a CEO or an executive type person, you may have some clause in your contract that makes you legally required to. Then you would.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as we've seen in places like CNN and whatnot, they've had some big scandals because their executives have been sleeping with their reports. So got in trouble for not informing them. Of course, they also gave them benefits because of it. So maybe not. So who knows? So yeah, unless you're just a the low end worker you know, if you're a low end worker, go ahead and sleep with your coworkers, your fellow low end worker. If you're in upper management, stay away. Stay away from your coworkers. There's my suggestion on that one, right? If you're just the schlop cog in the wheel, no one cares. Sleep with who you want. But if you're in the upper management, yeah, you've got a different level of responsibility to the company. So there it is. Okay, how's that for an answer?
That's a very good answer.
Okay, so what's next?
How do I get over my insecurity as not being the best sexual partner to my girlfriend? This little wench actually told him, "No, you're not the best I've ever had."
I got mixed feelings about those because you don't want to start. You don't want to be dishonest. At the same time, you don't want to be dishonest. You don't want to be lying to your partner. That sets up a bad precedent. My guess is you could probably think of a better way to answer the question.
I know.
But you know, I don't pay any attention. I don't rate different. Everybody's different. You can't compare different people.
No, you can't.
You know, and that's kind of the way you'd answer the question. So you could, I suppose, the biggest problem is the inartful answer to the question.
And what about when you've been in love and stupid and you were at the heights of ecstasy? I mean, now I remember those. Those were the best.
Yeah, well, maybe they haven't had that, and so maybe it's, you know, maybe it's her not giving all of herself to him as well. Maybe she's not. Yeah, maybe they're just not that into each other. Is another option, even though I actually doubt that is actually the case. It's just my guess is they're both young and she's too stupid to know how to answer that question properly. That you can't compare previously. But here's the other question. Don't ask the freaking question.
Why would you ask?
That's just putting yourself and your partner in a position that there's no good answer to there. There's just, so don't ask the question. Your insecurity led you to ask the question, and you weren't prepared for the answer, and so you reap what you sow. Stop asking the question. So we can actually complain about her giving an inartful answer, but it's an inartful question. So, you know, neither one of you get off the hook on that. Okay. And I think we are out of time, my love. We are out of time. We want to thank you guys for joining us. We want to thank Levy for putting together tonight's show. And see us next week. What are we talking about next week? Do we have any idea yet?
We have no clue.
We have no clue. So we're going to talk about no clues next week. That's what we're going to talk about. Ooh, I got it. We can talk about the Battle of the Sexes again. It's coming up again. Especially on YouTube. The Battle of the Sexes on YouTube are raging. With content creators and influencers.
Yeah. Every generation goes through it. Wow. I can't wait.
So how about that? Next week we're going to talk about Battle of the Sexes and why we've seen this all before. And I think this would be our third Battle of the Sexes, I think. Right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's our third one.
It's our third.
That's our third one. Woohoo! All right. So we will see you next week. Good night. And please remember to love everybody.
Good night.